I should have never camped alone that weekend, at least, not in those woods. I thought I was being adventurous, brave, just another night under the stars. But the truth is, I barely made it out alive. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still hear it, the sound of something circling my tent. I've always loved the outdoors, hiking, camping, breathing in air that doesn't reek of car exhaust or cafeteria food. By college, I thought I was experienced enough to handle a solo trip. I'd been to national parks, mountain trails, even slept in the middle of deserts. That spring, I wanted something quieter. No tourists, no campgrounds packed with screaming kids, just silence. So I picked a forest I'd only read about in online forums. Remote, no cell service, hours from the nearest town. The hike-in was long, and by the time I found a clearing, the sun was already melting behind the trees. The place was beautiful though, moss hanging from branches, the ground soft with pine needles, the air cool and still, almost too still. No birds, no insects, just my boots crunching, and the whisper of wind overhead. I told myself it was peaceful, that the quiet was what I'd come for. But even as I set up my tent, I couldn't shake the feeling that the forest was watching me. The fire crackled low, shadows flickered against the trees. I cooked a simple meal, drank from my water bottle, and lay back on my sleeping bag. It should have been relaxing. Instead, I kept noticing little things. The way the fire smoke refused to drift, like the air was heavy, pinned down. The way distant branches snapped, though there was no wind. And how the silence didn't feel natural. It felt hollow. By midnight, the fire had burned down to embers. I zipped myself inside the tent, told myself I was safe. Then I heard it. At first, I thought it was a deer. Slow, steady steps circling the tent. I froze, holding my breath. The steps stopped. I unzipped the flap an inch and peeked outside. Nothing, just trees, and the faint outline of my fire's dying glow. I should have stayed inside, should have ignored it, but I leaned out a little further, and the world went black. No sound, no warning, just a sudden, suffocating void. I woke up face down in dirt. The first thing I noticed was the cold, then the ache in my arms and legs, as if I'd been dragged. My backpack, my lantern, even my sleeping bag gone. I staggered to my feet, expecting to see my camp, but the clearing was nowhere in sight. I was in a completely different part of the forest. The trees looked older here, bark twisted and dark, and carved into one trunk. Only a few feet from me was a symbol, a spiral. At first, I thought it was graffiti, but then I saw another spiral carved into another tree, and another, leading off into the woods. I tried following the markings, hoping they'd take me back to camp, but the deeper I went, the stranger it got. The air seemed thicker, harder to breathe. The light changed. One moment it looked like dawn, the next like the dead of night. My watch said 2:15 a.m. every time I checked, even as hours passed. And then, there were the whispers. At first, just faint murmurs in the distance, then clearer. My name, sometimes behind me, sometimes ahead, never close enough to see. I started running, snapping branches, scraping my arms on thorns. But no matter which direction I chose, the spirals were always there, leading me somewhere. I don't know how long I wandered. My throat was dry, my legs bruised. I thought I was going to collapse, maybe die out there. And then, through the trees, I saw a building, a ranger station. I stumbled toward it, half laughing, half crying, and pounded on the door until someone opened it. The rangers pulled me inside, sat me down, gave me water. They stared at me like I was some ghost. "Where have you been?" one of them asked. I told them. One night, I'd been camping, got lost, but they shook their heads. "You've been missing for 3 days." I thought they were joking, but my reflection in the window said otherwise. My face was pale, streaked with dirt, my eyes sunken, my clothes torn like I'd been crawling. The ranger said search teams had been combing the forest, that they'd already given up hope. I tried to explain the spirals, the whispers. They looked at each other, but didn't say anything. A week later, when I finally had the courage to go back with them to recover my gear, we found my campsite. The tent was shredded to ribbons, the fire pit scattered, my pack ripped open and emptied. But that wasn't the worst part. The trees around the clearing were carved, dozens of spirals, fresh and deep, circling the exact spot where I'd slept. I don't know how I lost those 3 days. I don't know what dragged me away, or why it let me go, but I know this. Something lives in those woods. Something that waits for campers like me. People who think they're safe in the silence. I still dream about the spirals. I wake up sweating, convinced I'll see them carved into the walls of my room. And sometimes, when the house is quiet, I swear I hear it. The sound of something walking around me, waiting.